Cause it like shines down in odd ways, I look like, an alien.
Christine, this is a real quick test. Can you hear me? Christine, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Great, thank you.
I like your haircut.
Thank you.
You're welcome. No, I can't hear you. What's happening?
Hi.
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 It's
I'm here.
just
Here we
okay.
are.
Okay.
Hi, Marianne and Christine. We're just waiting a few more minutes for the chair and then we'll get started. So you guys can stay
Okay.
for a little bit and you'll see when I turn the cameras on.
Okay.
Thank you. We're here. We're good.
Yeah, you're like me, it's like. Yes.
Oh,
Hey, you there? Hi.
how are you? I know.
My name has a typo. Oh,
Let me see. Where is that?
yeah. Okay, thanks. How do I fix it?
Oh, what do they have? Are you like Raquel Welch or?
No, I'm sorry. Oh, great. Craig just texted me. I'm like, great.
What? Who are you?
How do I fix? I'm not fixing it.
No, we know who you are.
Yeah, right?
I totally know who you
Oh
are.
my God. I'm so cold.
I did the double.
And the system does record until while we're waiting for Seth, just so you guys know.
That's okay.
We're talking about how
We're
I
just
might
talking
even
about who we are. Your
Yeah.
hair looks great, so love it.
what?
Your hair, so's
Oh
hair.
my God, I put it up.
Oh, your hair looks good too. How's mine?
Oh no, like Zoe's hair, doesn't it look pretty?
Looks so nice.
I got
That's
a lot off.
right.
I got caught in the rain.
It was bad today. Christine, if you knew my last 2 days as an old lady, you wouldn't even know.
No,
I've been going like, I have met more doctors. I drove around Yale like 500 times yesterday. It was like it was so funny. Just
Are you
trying,
kidding?
what, huh?
No, I can't. I don't know how to fix it.
Where, I'm trying to see where your name is.
Oh, maybe I could fix it. Hold on.
I don't know.
Delete. Let me take off the, hold on. I did it. I changed it.
Fixed it? What
I
was
don't
it? Like, why was
I'm
it?
so smart sometimes.
I amaze myself sometimes too.
Sometimes I do. I think I did it. I think
Sometimes I do.
poor Stella, like our dog.
What happened?
Well, she had these two huge bumps on like where her whiskers are, like cysts
Where-
almost.
Yeah, like right.
$321 later.
You know,
She's on antibiotics, and
what
so
is it?
they don't know. I think it's just like an infected whisker somehow, and they tested her. Are we the only two on Zoom?
I guess.
I think I fixed it. But they sing to her when they were putting a needle in it.
Here.
Right, you yes, I'll advocate as soon as I can.
Did you find us? We're here.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the Madison Board of Education regular meeting to order. It is about 7:35. Happy to see you all. If we could please rise and pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There we go. All right, so the second item on the agenda is our school and community session. And our second 2A is to yield the gavel to our. Apologize. Not at all.
Throw salt down at the
Driveway, so a great way to make sense. Yeah. Chestnut, so we're good. Just, we always, we just, done that. Okay. And we're just school community session. Okay.
Oh, we reported on the budget already. so.
All right.
Okay, so the board welcomes public comment at our meetings, whether in person or online. We ask that you state your name and your address. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. We're happy to hear from our community, but it should not be expected the board or administration will respond to public comments. If necessary, community member will be contacted for follow-up. If you're joining us online, we ask that you raise your hand and you will be called upon. Is there anyone in person who would like to speak this evening? Anyone online who would like to speak this evening? Okay. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you. All right, next up is the Board of Ed Student Representatives reports. Eli and Brooke, thank you.
Yeah,
You're apparently here on time, so it was your reports.
yeah. Last week for groups of senior advisory, every group had 2 Daniel Hand alumni come back and talk about their experience in college so far and just some tips that they wish they had known before starting their college journey. Tomorrow, very exciting day. It's a half day for everyone. You guys are parent teacher conferences. And last night, the class of 2028 had their freshman orientation. So their parents were invited into the school and the kids were thrown around. And this is the first time this was done after school hours. And January 18th marked the midpoint of the year, which is crazy as a senior. It's gone by so fast. It's really exciting, but it's almost over.
And since we're now officially halfway through the school year, the freshmen through junior students are picking their 2024 to 2025 schedules. And some upcoming events that are going on. Tomorrow night at 7:30, the orchestra concert. We're having the orchestra concert. And we're pushing for high attendance through having orchestra members talk at the PTO meetings to try to get the word out there. Another event is that the girls' basketball night, senior night, is Thursday night. And Mr. Salutary and AD Mr. Farrell are trying to also push awareness about these types of senior nights through the morning announcements, so they'll try to add those in soon. Looking beyond January, on February 6th, Miss Coyle, who's like the career counselor and college counselor, planned a career expo for the juniors. And this event, people from a ton of different walks of life are going to meet the juniors so that the juniors can kind of get an idea of what kind of career path they're interested in. And this will be happening during the school day, so all the juniors will be able to attend.
Questions? No, thank you. Very much. All right, next on the agenda is the superintendent's report. Dr. Cook.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Dustin, and thank you, Eli and Brooke. Enjoy the half day tomorrow. So very exciting tonight. We have a presentation for the board from ad hoc committee that just completed its work a few weeks ago. And joining us at the podium are Rebecca Frost, building principal, and Amelia Marcoux, also known as Millie, who is the committee chair. And so Millie and Becky are going to present the work of the committee. I know we have some committee members watching online as well. Chairman Klaskin and myself were ex officio members, and Kathy Miller was a voting member representing the Board of Ed. So thank you both for being here. We'll turn the floor over to you.
Thank you so much for having us. It's so wonderful to be here. As you said, I'm Amelia Marcoux. This is Ms. Frost. We are representing the ad hoc school meeting committee. So we had a total of 7 voting members. This was Seth Glaskin, Dr. Cook. Those are not voting members. Kathy Miller, Rebecca Frost, Alicia Dunbar. Oh wait. Jessica Joseph, who's with us, Deborah Thomas, Jim Kenny, and myself. So we were tasked with recommended 3 to 5 names to the recommendation. We developed these recommendations with the input and assistance from the community, and we evaluated these suggestions from the community using the criteria set forth in policy 7591.
So to give you a little bit more detail and background about our process, the committee met several times throughout the fall and winter. All of the meetings were noticed and open to the public. So thank you, Zoe, for sending all of those communications out for us. It really kicked off with a month-long period for community members to email, mail, or phone in naming suggestions. And I believe the email address got over 150 submissions for suggestions and ideas and support for various names. The committee took those 150 emails and narrowed it down to a list of 15 names. And then we sought further public input on those 15. One of the most fascinating parts of the process was an actual public comment session here in the Hamel room that ended up being standing room only, where people came to give support or to advocate for something else or a name perhaps not to be used as part of our selection. It was really cool just to see the passion from community members. I learned a lot, just the history of the town. People brought news clippings. I saw a picture of Walter C. Tolson and I don't know if it was Dr. Brown. No, it was Jeffrey, J. Milton Jeffrey, shaking hands at one point. So just really nice process to be a part of. And then the committee took those 15 names and just a week or 2 ago narrowed it down to a final 3. To get it there, to get down to those 3, we also, of course, couldn't do this process, as Kathy Miller suggested. We have to get the kids involved. It was a great idea, Kathy, and get the kids involved, we did. At Jeffrey and Ryerson, I created a slideshow with pictures of the new building, a little bit of the policy information, what is a committee, and all of the teachers presented that to students, and we had little voting sessions within each class at Jeffrey and at Ryerson as well. I pulled the Jeffrey staff just to see sort of where their heads were at. So all of that information was shared with the committee as well, and really was neat for the kids to feel like they have some ownership in it. Unfortunately, none of the student names made it into the top 3, but
Really good names though.
they were nice. Yeah, and there's so many good ones. So but it was exciting for them to be a part of the process. So we do have it narrowed down to 3 for you. And when we were evaluating these names, we really wanted to make sure, obviously we need to follow Board of Ed policy, but wanted something that was very specific to Madison, something that would be relevant, meaningful, able to be pronounced by pre-K to 5th grade students. Something that was inclusive, something again that would be unique and kind of stand out. So as a committee, we had a lot of debate on just the pros and cons of naming the building after a person versus a place or a thing, and there are certainly pros and cons. We wanted to offer the Board of Ed options for both, so you'll see that reflected in our top 3 names. Are you ready for it? Okay, drum roll please.
So our final 3 names recommended are Neck River Elementary School, Marguerite P. Bowes Elementary School, and Hammonasset Elementary School.
So we'll give you a little bit of context and background as to why each of these 3 were selected. The Neck River runs through the back of the actual property where the school is going to be built. So again, very unique, very specific to the location. It's a neutral name, again, not tied with a party or a person. So just kind of something that everybody can hopefully connect to. Simple to spell, simple to say, it was a top pick. Marguerite Bowes is a community member still living in town. You might know her better as Taffy Bowes. She had a plethora of people come out to the public comment information session night advocating for her because her work has been so impactful in the town. Years ago, she was a Madison Public Schools teacher. She taught 4th grade at Academy School. She then worked from 1988 to 2015 for Madison Youth and Family Services. And she really was the initiator of many student groups really supporting full child, social, emotional work that are still around today. Peer helpers, safe rides, peer advocates. Again, she lives in town still. She volunteers in town. Her kids went through the system. So we thought she would be a really good representation of somebody that would represent our town well.
And then Hammonasset Elementary School also has something to do with the area that we live in. It has a Native American background, which honors the people who lived here before us, and it was also very popular within the community. So we are so excited to present these to you, and we are looking forward to hearing what you pick.
Yes, best of luck. If you have any other questions about the process, we're happy to take them now. Go ahead, Diane.
So were these the top 3 choices from the community as well?
Not necessarily, no. We didn't have a final vote with the community or, teachers, kids. This was really the 7 voting members after hearing it all, reading the emails, listening to kids, listening to teachers. This was the outcome of the votes from the 7 voting members of the committee.
And was there a reason that you did 3? Because we said 3 to 5, and I was just wondering if the other ones were just nah, we didn't really like them, or that these 3 just stood out, or.
I don't know that I think honestly it came from a good place of let's give you the top 3, you really can't go wrong with any of these 3 and sort of help you kind of by narrowing it down as much as possible.
Yeah, they were definitely all very popular within the community, although we didn't have a final vote, and they were all just very strong and spoke to all of us, so.
Thank you.
You did a great job. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. I know that in the committee, and all of the nominations from the public that came in for Taffy Bowes came in under Taffy Bowes. And I know, I think Zoe did extra research afterwards to find out that her full name is Marguerite P. Bowes.
Correct.
Would the school be named Marguerite P. Bowes or Taffy Bowes? Considering she's still with us, would she have a choice or?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Zoe, but
If that name were suggested.
yeah, Zoe did contact Taffy.
I called her, asked for her full legal name, and explained that is typically how we name schools, pointing out Walter C. Polson, J. Milton Jeffrey, etc. And asked for her full name, which is actually longer than that. She had a lot of middle names. We have a long talk about it, and that is where we ended.
So
So that
she
was
had
her
input in that, yes.
Okay. Thank you. What else? Questions? So we are not voting on this tonight. This was the presentation. And
Yeah, I think one of the big compliments to the committee is oftentimes committee work does not stay on track. You guys stayed completely on track. Yes, no surprise. But stayed completely on track in terms of the timeline that was set out and shared with the board, I think back in September. And so the plan now is that the board would vote in its next meeting, which will be February 13th.
Are these listed in order of preference? It's just random.
The top
Was
list.
there one that rose to the top for the committee who had to rank them?
If I were to speak just on, I guess what was talked about most, or most people kind of wrote, oh, I really like that, I would probably say Neck River was more popular over Hammonasset, but I wouldn't want to speak for the whole committee.
Yeah, okay.
That's funny, I was actually going to say Hammonasset.
I thought so.
But again, we all just had such different
Yeah.
perspectives. I think that there was definitely some strong voices within the committee that thought a Hammonasset or Neck River would be better than naming it after someone. But and that wasn't the majority of the committee, I would say.
I pulled my PTO on Tuesday night just for fun last week, and it was a tie between Neck River and Bose Elementary.
Oh, interesting.
I also want to just lend my thanks to, it's always wonderful when community members come out and join these committees and give their time. I thought it was a great process. It was handled very well. It was very efficient. Thank you so much, Zoe, for also, doing all the legwork for the committee. And it was just a very positive experience, and I want to congratulate and thank you guys for your good work, including those of you online.
It was fun to help.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Thank
And thank you very much. Thank you.
I think it's also unique too, I'll just point this out, to have a high school student lead a committee that's made up of adults. And so really that was brave of you to offer, several months ago. And so thank you very much for doing that. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Great job.
Nice to see Kelsey.
Yeah, right. All into the team, yeah. Our next item was typically at this meeting, we would discuss the budget. So I know there was, a number of questions that came in over the budget process. We have Stacy Novik, our finance director, with us tonight. And we provided answers for the questions that came in. This was another opportunity if there was any additional questions or thoughts to share. I know there's an action item later, but wanted to put that on. I thank the board members for your work throughout that process. I know there's a lot of documents that we gave you, lengthy information, and appreciate the engagement and excellent questions that came forward.
Thank you. So we will have an opportunity to discuss the budget shortly after this. There's only a couple of quick agenda items in between. One is board member comments, and I believe we do have some comments this time. Diane, did you want to share something with us?
So I am on the Tiger branding committee regarding the mascot logo change. And so I just wanted to give an update. The committee met once, and I wanted to test these around and let you look at the solution, and we'll go the other way. So the end goal, well, first it was led by the athletic director, Chris Farrell. The end goal is to have a consistent image among our athletic programs and departments, including logos, colors, and typography. As a committee, we reviewed past images and hand yearbooks across the years and across sports, and noted the lack of consistent images and typography even within sports. There were different tiger and paw images, as well as different colors and fonts. The color issues were discussed. So you may have noticed that the hand football team has always had a different colored helmet due to the color variety that's available. That's why the old jerseys were a different color gold than the helmets. The helmets only came in what is known as Team Vegas Gold. And the old jerseys match the predominant gold used at hand, which is called Steel Town Gold or University Gold. Hand gymnastics also has a limitation because they can only get Team Vegas Gold on their uniforms. So the color that was most used as hands color across the years for gold, and what is most identified as hands gold color, is known as Steel Town Gold under the Under Armour Fuse line, and it's also known as University Gold. And the committee agreed with the athletic director to go forward with this color. So it does pose a slight problem with the football helmet and the gymnastics team. So the use of gold on those two teams, because they have limited availability, we're going to still maintain the unifying look of the athletic program, but we're going to minimize the use of gold. So for instance, on the leotards of the gymnastics, there's only a small amount of gold, so you don't really notice. It's not like a large, gold stripe. And then for the football athletic uniforms, we might like outline letters or numbers in gold, so it doesn't really stand out that it's different. The hand football helmets are inspected and reconditioned, including painting, every year. So if ultimately we decide to change the helmet color, it won't be an issue with timing or expense because it's done every year and it's built into the budget. Cheerleading changed their colors to match hand football, and so they use Team Vegas Gold. So when we decide to change everyone over to the University or Steel Town Gold, they will also change to match so that everything is unified. Chris Farrell is going to put together a color chart with hex numbers. And it's going to be for our school colors and it'll be used for everyone's uniforms, team gear, and fan gear. Through yearbooks and discussion, it's clear that our school colors are black and gold, with the gold being University Gold or Steel Town Gold. So then the committee discussed typography, and we supported the use of one font across sports. And if you look at it, it come back through, it's undeniable is what we chose. It's a fan favorite. People are always commenting. TJ wears a pullover and it's got the lettering on it. And that's the lettering that everyone really seems to like and comment on. And across the board, when you look at it, when it has been used on uniforms, it has a nice, clean, bold, professional look. And it's easy to read. But the AD will send out 3 to 4 font options so that everyone can share their opinions and we'll come to a common agreement. As far as the logo changes to the paw print and tiger images, the committee agreed that we all want to keep a paw logo and a tiger logo, and they want a tiger that looks fierce. And so the one that everyone most identified with would be the one that looked very, very similar to Tosin. And so we thought that it would be a great idea to get the students involved. And so Chris is going to speak with the digital art teachers and explain what we're looking for. We want 2 to 3 students who can be creative with digital art, use the paw logo and the side tiger fierce logo to digitally enhance and change them to make it original to Madison and reduce copyright and trademark issues. Once the logos and colors and fonts are agreed upon, a preliminary media branding guide will be put together for the committee to review at a future meeting date and time. This will then be shared with the head coaches via a meeting to gain their insights and thoughts. And when there's agreement, a final branding media guide would be created and shared. And one of the things that Chris said is we'll have one site where everyone can order from so that everyone has the same look, the same font, the same colors, the same logo. And it'll be a nice unifying look across the board for all athletics. And also the more that we order from the one place, the cheaper everything becomes. And so we'll end up saving money on uniforms, etc. And so currently there are 15 committee members, and they include CAN principal, Mr. Salutare, the AD, Chris Farrell, the executive secretary for the athletic department, Robin Halloran, the athletic trainer, Terry Ajaski, the health teacher, Brian Gowan, a social studies teacher, and also the girls varsity field hockey coach, Sue Leckie, the cheerleading coach, Michelle O'Day, the boys varsity soccer coach, Mike Shirley, and the girls varsity soccer coach, Rob McConville, myself, and other members of the community. And so everyone get a chance to see the fonts but that's what we're working on. And it seems we're all pretty much in agreement. It went really quickly. I think we're going to be able to, get this going pretty quickly so that there's no big lag time. That's great.
Thank you so much.
End of my-
Yeah, excellent report. Thank you. I just wanted to point out quickly that, as you know, as a district, we were denied our, reading waiver request from the right to read statute. And, we have been advocating vociferously, through and with, CABE, Connecticut, Association of Boards of Education, and also, ourselves, individually, and I, was able to connect with some of the board chairs of some of the other boards whose homegrown curriculum waivers were declined. We'll be reaching out to them and working in partnership with them as well. A good number of you are signed up. Thank you for the CABE Area 8 legislative breakfast on Thursday morning, where we're going to have not only a great turnout as these go, it's the largest in a long time. We expect to have 40 board members and superintendents there. But there's also going to be 7 legislators who are signed up so far, and that's one of the largest showings. And I think we'll be able to have a strong advocacy impact at that. There is a CABE event tomorrow morning from 11 to 12:15 online about the importance of advocacy, interestingly enough. So if anybody wants to sign up for that last minute, you can do that. You probably received it in your the invitation in your emails. And again, it's online, so you can just attend it quickly. And that's all I wanted to say for now. Thank you. Any other board member comments?
I have a question.
Yes.
So if we wanted to like make any comments about like the budget that's proposed, not necessarily at the time of the motion. We do it now.
If you want to make any comments about the
Or
budget.
question, yeah.
Yeah, no, I typically, there will be discussion, general discussion about the budget. Because this is for the item is for, the action item is, for discussion and potential action. Oh, no, that changed. Well, it's motion to approve. Well, we will have, the way it's typically handled is during discussion on the budget, motion, people get to comment to the extent they like, board members. And then, if anybody feels they need to raise a motion, then they are free to do that.
Well, just because under superintendent's report, there's proposed 24-25 budget discussion.
I think it was just introducing the fact that we were discussing that today. But usually our board discussion.
All right, then I'll make board member comments. So my one comment would be, and I'm shocking you all, I'm sure that I have nothing to say bad or that I don't want to have a reading interventionist or the social workers. I think I really appreciated the information that I got on that. It was nice to see the numbers of, it's not like we have excessive numbers of them, and it's really just one social worker per school, and I think that is fair. And they certainly have a lot of work to do. I did note that it seems like, the vast majority of the work being done, or so it seemed, has to deal with special education, which is typical. I did want to say that I was a little sad to see that there are not more teachers that are Wharton Gillingham certified. And it's, we support that program, and it's such a great tool that it would be really great if like all the teachers were certified in that. And I don't know, obviously that costs money, but if that is the evidence-based way to teach, then it shouldn't be just reserved for those who struggle. It should be everyone should get that teaching. And so it would be, I think, a great thing for our district if we could have more teachers certified in that so that everyone benefits equally from it. And then I did have a question for Dr. Cook. I had asked you a question about that one line under emergency maintenance, and was that a typo?
So, You were talking about the year-to-date spend.
It was a 2023 actual of only 5,999, and it was, budgeted for 50,000, but, I had been told that we had actually spent it all because we had like roof leaks, et cetera. But why does it only look like 6,000 was spent of the 50,000?
I'll call it Stacy then.
Yeah, so I don't have the background and I could maybe pull it up in a minute or so. But my guess would be we line item transferred out of that account into another account, and that column will show what was actually expended.
It just
Out of
didn't make
that
sense to
account.
me,
Fair,
like when we
yeah.
knew that we had spent it on actual repairs that were emergency.
Yeah,
Why it would only say we spent 6,000, so I figured something had to be funky there.
yeah, that's actual expenditures. If we line item transferred out to a maintenance line item,
Okay,
it wouldn't show in that column.
all right. That weird accounting stuff that you do. Those are my only comments now.
Thank you. All right, any other board member comments? Once, going twice. And next agenda item, audience response to information presented. Is there anybody with their hand up on the line?
No.
Okay. Nobody in here in the audience, so we'll move on. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So, second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Seeing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Okay. So,
We'll go on 9-0.
I'm sorry. Christine, did you vote in favor, against?
I'm in favor.
Okay, thank you, I'm sorry.
Good, thank you. I didn't raise my hand. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, is Mary Ann on? Yes. Oh,
Mary Ann's right there. She's.
Oh, okay, thanks, you, Mary Ann. All right, so we have a full line. Great. All right, next item on the agenda is board committee and liaison updates. First up is curriculum and student development. Stephen.
Yes, the last time we met was December 19th. That meeting, Mary Ann Connolly, Kathy Miller, and myself were present, as well as Seth Glaskin, Gail Dollinghenge, and Dr. Cook. The presentation was on college and career school links. The presenters were Chrissy Coyle and Jen Hawley. The presentation was for information purposes. I'm not seeking board approval. The presentation focused on the shift from the Naviance platform to that of the School Links platform, and updates on the progression of the college and career plans at Dana Land High School. Continuing initiatives have been in the area of developing community partnerships and opportunities for mentors and internships for high school students. Currently, there are 60 volunteers to support these programs, and potential mentors are being vetted. A goal is to expand the industry partner network and match students with mentors in the students' area of interest. There are currently pilot programs of students in the areas of architecture, social media marketing, and education. The shift from Naviance to School Links is based upon the difficulty they found in utilizing Naviance, and the reality that students were not using it beyond a very superficial level. Student input on introduction to School Links found it more current, user-friendly, and provided an extensive array of services, and was fully supported by the provider and responsive to requests and queries. School Links does provide interest inventories and college application support, as well as support for student portfolios. There were numerous questions from committee members in support for this change and the general direction the college and career program is progressing. There was not public comment, and the meeting adjourned at 5:30. End of report.
Thank you, Steve. Any questions? No? Okay, thank you. Moving on to Facilities Committee. Emily?
We have not met since our last meeting. You will see an update for the February 13th meeting. We're going to be meeting at Brown for a tour, and our facilities meeting will be there at 4:30, so that should be in your calendars. Nothing to report on this.
Thank you. Any questions? No? Okay. Finance Committee. Galen?
We also have not met. Our next meeting is February 27th at 5:30.
Questions? Thank you. Personnel Committee. Maureen?
We also haven't, so we don't have a date for future meetings.
Okay, thank you. Question? No? All right, Policy Committee, Diane.
We met tonight via Zoom. We discussed several policies for rescission, several policies for rescind and replace. It was a very quick meeting. It was great to see you at your next meeting. And we have policies for our first read tonight, 9800 School Board Member Services, 9810 New Board Member Orientation Handbook, 9820 Board Member Development Opportunities. That's a first read. Also 9830 Board Facilities and Services. Those are in your packet for first read tonight. We also have policy for review as a first read, 5090.4.2.1 Allegiance. We have a bunch of action items for tonight. Policy for rescission with a waive of the second reading, if you so choose. 5100.5 student fundraising activities, 5120.1 student insurance coverage, 5120.2 reports of accidents, 5150 employment, 5160 gifts to employees. Just want to make a note about policy 5160. Although it is set for rescission, we are going to look at this policy and moving a similar one into the 4000 series to be discussed at a future policy committee meeting. Because we did want to keep something in the policy, but it would not be in the 5000 series, which is in the student series. It would move it to the 4000 series under personnel. So that will be forthcoming, but it is on your agenda as an action item to rescind 5160 against employees. We also have a second read for policies for rescission, 9540.11 news media service at meetings, 9900 school board legislative program, 9910 state legislative program, 5120.9.4 bicycle and rollerblade use, and this was discussed at length during a committee meeting, just to go through the different schools and who was really still utilizing rollerblades and bicycles, and whether or not it was a relevant policy. Turns out it's not, so that's why it's on your agenda for your position. And we also have policy 5120.4.2.3 substance abuse counseling. We have policies for review, which is a rescind and replace. For a second read tonight, also action items, 9510, time, place, and notice of meetings, which replaces the 9510 regular board meetings, 9520 special board meetings, 9540.1 notification of board meetings. Then we also have policy 5090.8.1 search and seizure and its associated regulation, which we did discuss at length during the policy committee meeting. Due to the wording regarding the search of a student's person, and the wording of that, we went back to Shipman and Goodwin and used the language that they recommended. And if you want to discuss that further, we can discuss it when it becomes an action item, or I'm happy to answer your question now if you wish. And then there's 5090.3.1 student dress and 5144.4 physical activity, undirected play and student discipline. Your Shipman and Goodwin notes are included in your packet, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Also, note, any of the 9000 series require a 2/3 vote to pass.
Questions? Thank you. Questions?
End of report.
Great. Thank you. Learn liaison, Mary Ann.
Hi, yes, we met last Thursday, January 11th. Most of the meeting was was about the new people who are on the board who got elected, and they talked about exactly what Learn was about and the rest and all the different school districts. And it was interesting. I actually learned more each time I go and learn more about Learn and realize what an asset it is to our district and how we, the superintendents can use it, we can use it. I also at the end asked about the reading, and I spoke with Craig afterwards, and most of them had not gotten their reading waivers either. So they were all kind of up in arms. I kind of started a thing at the end, but we did discuss that, and I guess everyone's trying to get their waivers.
Thank you. Any questions? Questions? Okay. Thank you very much, everybody, for your good reports. Next action item 10. This is gonna be, this is gonna result in a motion to approve the proposed 2024-2025 budget, which is currently at 63 million, yeah. $63,900,874, which represents a 3.44% total increase over last year's budget. So in order to discuss this, I need a motion, and it'll be a motion to approve the proposed budget of 2024, the proposed 2024-2025 budget in the amount of $63,900,874, which represents a 3.44% increase in spending. Do I have a motion? That's from Emily. Thank you. Do I have a second? I'll second. Second from Galen. All right, so because we have a motion and a second, that opens up discussion. I would like to start the discussion by discussing a couple things. First of all, in general, I know, we'll discuss the budget in more detail, but in general, I want to thank and congratulate both the finance committee and the administration for all the hard work you did, including Stacy. Thank you. It's never easy to do a budget. I know that you take a real start from the ground and look at what you need viewpoint rather than, hey, let's just roll it over and add some money to it. And that's greatly appreciated that you take a fresh look every year and only ask for what you need. I think by and large, the board greatly appreciates the result this year, and I think you'll hear that through discussion. I did want to mention that through discussions at our, we have a tri-chairs meeting where the first selectwoman, the chair of the Board of Finance, myself, Stacy, Bill, Craig, are all in attendance. And we kind of discuss what's coming down the pike, and we used it as an opportunity, and we usually use it every budget season to discuss what the main budget drivers are, what the main cost drivers are in our respective budgets to kind of keep in touch and start the ball rolling. And we were able to express to Peggy and John as a result some of the annual and especially this year, some of the unique and one-time cost drivers that are driving this year's budget. And through that discussion, there seemed to be a general appetite expressed by the first selectwoman and chair of the Board of Finance to consider that maybe a good way to handle some of those one-time expenses might be to handle them off budget and to instead do appropriations for them. The advantage to that, not only obviously in having the impact of reducing our budget, but in a way that we probably would agree would be welcome if that were to happen. But it would also benefit the town and the taxpayer by having the impact of taking that money off the budget so it doesn't increase our budget basis going forward. And what that means is by taking it out of the budget and treating it as a one-time expense as it truly is, it doesn't fatten up our budget this year, so that when we do a percent increase next year, it's based on a bigger budget to begin with, so it's a bigger number, you know, based on the percentage increase. So you know, I'm not sure it'll happen. It's gonna require a little bit of patience, and it's gonna require that the two other boards vote to support that concept. So I would strongly recommend in the meantime that we proceed on the basis and on the assumption that that's not going to happen until we get news down the pike later that may end up being what those boards vote to do. We're in the unenviable position of having to vote for our budget first and then wait to see how it's handled by other boards. And because of that, I think I contend that the smartest thing to do is to vote for our budget in whatever final form we put forward tonight. And keep in those one-time costs for now, and allow the other boards to do their thing when they receive our budget. Does anyone have any questions about that? No? Okay. Marion, do you have a question, Marion? Thank you.
Tell her to unmute.
You're on mute.
So what would you like consider a one-time? Would that be like the marching band uniform? Like what would be considered a one-time cost?
Anything that's in our budget, because it was foisted on us this year or it's needed this year, and it tends to be one time or cyclical, and this is the year it came up. So that would include, for example, the band uniforms. It would include some furnishings that are needed for, I'm sorry?
The bridge furniture at hand. Or
Yeah, the bridge furniture at hand, some furnishings for the new wing and Brown and that sort of thing. So, you know, there's certain items. It also includes technically, because we were denied the reading waiver by the state Department of Education, we're putting in a one-time request for something over $100,000 to help start us down the road of complying with the statute that needs to be complied with as of now. It needs to be complied with by July of 2025. So we've positioned ourselves to take it, you know, in chunks over the next couple of years, but these are unique expenditures that are not carried over budget to budget.
So if we vote on them now and they're in the budget, how can we be reimbursed? Or how does that work with the
The way it
town?
would work is, obviously, our budget, after we vote on it, it goes to the Board of Selectmen. They have recommendatory oversight, which means they'll review our budget. And they don't have the right to make cuts to it, but they do have the right to comment on where they think cuts could or should be made. And then they pass it along to the Board of Finance, along with that public commentary that they made. The Board of Finance then gets it, and they have actual authority to reduce our budget. What I am hoping occurs is that they take into account these one-time expenses, and during their deliberations, both on the Board of Selectmen and in their recommendatory role passing along to the Board of Finance, I'm hoping they have public discussions addressing these one-time costs and recognizing that it would be better for the town to handle those as appropriations and off our budget. That has obvious advantages to helping our budget pass, but at the same time, it has an overall positive impact on the town and for the taxpayer by, like I said, reducing the basis of our budget going forward. If they do that, then I would imagine the way it would work is the Board of Finance would then vote. They're not allowed to vote for line items on our budget. They're only allowed to vote a dollar amount. So they'll deliberate as to what dollar amount they feel, for example, might represent some of these one-time expenses. And they may decide to discuss on the record, which would make us feel more comfortable, that they would be willing to maybe appropriate for some of those down the road. And then I would imagine they would take a vote to reduce our budget by some amount that they discuss, they would probably plan on appropriating for going forward. That's the process for it. Because we don't have assurances now, it's important that, to my mind, it's important because we do need these funds, and that's very clear. It's important that we vote to include those in our proposed budget. But if we get a reduced budget back from the Board of Finance, along with a concomitant discussion point that they're willing to consider appropriating to restore some of that, so that we get what we need, but it's off our budget, then that's how that would work, and we would go to an appropriation down the road. Christine?
Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
Could you then treat them as a capital improvement as opposed to including it in on our budget? So if the town does something like that, it's a bonded effect as
No,
opposed
it wouldn't pass through bonding, it would just be a special appropriation that the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance would have to vote on.
But then who pays for?
So in the past, you know, if we received good news on some item, I could write a letter on behalf of the board to the Board of Finance to say, because this happened, we feel you can make this reduction. So kind of basically giving them that signal that it's fair to do it. They don't have the obligation to do it, but most likely they would take that action, reduce our budget by $100,000 or $150,000 based on that. So you know, I think what Seth is saying at that point, what will be farther down the road with our discussions, it would be a one-time expenditure, you know, from the general fund for, say, purchase of band uniforms, because that was discussed.
Yeah.
If that's what the board decided to do, but those discussions have not really progressed to that point as Seth shared, that we're sure they're going to happen.
Yeah, just a distinction. I don't know if it would be the general fund or it could be a designated, undesignated fund.
Right, exactly.
Where I know that there's some excess there to be had. So any other questions? Thank you, Craig. Yeah. Okay, that being discussed, and I think that's a good context for us to jump into this deeper discussion. I'll open the floor to anybody who wants to discuss any aspects of the current budget as is. Oh, Diane. Surprise.
So there's actually two things that I want to discuss, and I will do it in the opposite order of importance to me. So the one thing that I wanted to talk about were the band uniforms. And it's not that I don't think that the band needs new uniforms or deserves new uniforms, but when you compare band uniforms to sports uniforms, they don't get quite the same use. So they do last longer. And with the current numbers I'm seeing, there are 79 band members enrolled right now. We have 225 uniforms. That's almost 3 uniforms per student. And I get you gotta have different sizes for different people. But that's a lot of uniforms for that many students. And I know, you know, they're not in perfect repair, but from what I have heard, they're not horrible either. I have seen them. But one of the things that I would ask you to consider is that while we're doing the logo and font and color changes, if you look at the current band uniforms, they do have a font on their right sleeve that says Daniel Hand. And the color of the gold actually matches the gold of the football, not of the gold that we're going to go forward with. So, and they also have the PAW logo on the left breast. So those 3 things, the color, the logo, and the font, you know, going forward, if we keep band uniforms much longer than we keep sports uniforms. So I would definitely want us to not order new ones until we have the new logo and font and coloring settled. And don't know when that's going to happen, but I don't think it's going to take that long. And I understand this is for, you know, the next year, there's a delay in ordering, but I just wanted to put that out there, that it's a good reason to consider delaying it, Or, and also the fact that they have many uniforms and not as many students as in the past. And so if we did want to reduce the budget or felt the need or a fiscal responsibility to reduce the budget, that this might be one of the items that we could do it on. That's my first item. My second item would of course be the AP. So we know what we spent, like around $6,000, $7,000 in the trial year. We have no idea what we're going to be spending this spring, but it's allotted $15,000, and the ask is for double that. So I would say no to that. I think that if one of the few places that we could actually make a cut, although not significant, still it's an effort to be fiscally responsible and say, well, if we didn't use all of the money we allotted the first year, and we don't know if we'll use the full amount, I don't see the need to double it. So I would say that I would like to reduce the proposed budget by the $15,718. That's over the $15,000 we allot for the for that.
Yeah, on the uniforms, I would just point out in response that the uniform, the cost for the uniforms as a line in this budget for the band uniforms is projected to not be funded until the next fiscal year, which is after July 1st or after. So I think based on your report, the logo, the logo committee will come up with, So I don't think that will, that's a well taken point. I would hate to have that big investment put into uniforms that the second they come out, they're mismatched to the rest of our logos and all of that. And absolutely agree. The band uniforms are generally put on a 10-year cycle, not only because of the wear and, they might be able to march on their own by now, but also because, like everything else, they start to get aged out in terms of style and, competitive use and all of that.
You want the bell bottom hip hugger style?
We don't want the bell bottom hip huggers, no, although they may be back in soon. So your point's well taken there, and we're more than happy to take further discussion on that. And then I also take your point on the really the superintendent's pilot program on AP test prep. I think so far it shows great signs right out of the gate. In the first year we tried it, there was interest, and there probably were some students who would tell you that they felt they did better on the
No,
exam.
absolutely.
Yeah,
I think it's a great program and I fully support it,
yeah.
but there needs to be proof of support.
Well, and that's the point that I wanted to make, is that I do see that, we didn't use up to the initial 15,000 allotment. And, there are indications, and I would like Craig to have an opportunity to discuss it as well. There are indications that because that was the first year and it will pick up steam, and we may use up to 30,000 next year. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I'm sensitive to your discussion point that it is fiscally responsible to look at performance so far and maybe inch it up and maybe go for 30,000 in the next budget cycle, not this coming budget
I
cycle.
mean, I
So,
certainly think we, take a look at what happens this spring. And I do know that there are factors that you couldn't possibly foresee, I know, for instance, on one of the weekends that the AP the help was offered, that there were some major athletic things going on that weekend. And so even if the students wanted to participate, they already had responsibilities for their athletic teams. And, next year that might not be the case, right? I mean, it's highly dependent on the
Can I
student.
ask a question about all this?
yeah, hang on one second, one second. I'll call on you next. Sorry. Go ahead.
So I think, there is the chance that more students will utilize it if it just happens to align better with their schedules. And that being said, we know how busy our juniors are. They're already overscheduled with their lives. And so they will continue to have multiple responsibilities that might interfere, depending on what they prioritize. If they, are going to be going to an athletic event, or if they're going to be going to the AP review session.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Diane. Mary Ann, did you want to
Yeah, I think part of my issue with all this is, well, two things. I know what Diane's talking about. I'd like to know, you know, how other uh clubs and things that the children do have booster. Do we have a booster club that has anything to do with the marching band, or is there
Yeah.
any way of fundraising? Do they fundraise?
They do. So there's the Daniel Hand Booster, Music Booster Club, and they support marching band and orchestra and regular jazz band. And they do fundraise. So the concession stand at the football games is the Music Boosters. And they use that money, for instance, they bought the polo shirts for the band. They also paid for the senior sign for the band members, and they've offered to do the same for orchestra students, seniors this year. They're leaving it up to the orchestra teacher and students to decide, you know, what they want to do with that equivalent money or somewhat equivalent money. And they do fundraisers all year long. They do the pot pie fundraiser, they do the mattress fundraiser. There's a bunch
That's for the whole music. That's like that's for the whole group.
No, so Vibe is not included in the Music Boosters. Vibe is a separate, they have their own.
They do the pot pie. Oh, so that's a different part of the music. I see. I
Yes.
understand.
Vibe is separate from the Music Boosters.
And the other thing I wanted to ask, as far as the AP goes, I have some confusion as to exactly what is done with in other words, what is the preparation? Are the teachers, how is this, what is it? To me, I really don't know. You
This is a
know,
good opportunity for Craig to have.
yeah,
his-
that's what I'd like.
Sure, so if I can comment on both things,
Okay.
I'll start with AP, so, AP is just it's a more like a tutoring session for students, so our teachers are very familiar, what's gonna be on the test, and so it's based on the curriculum that they teach all year, but, and so these are basically small groups with students, it could be, some of them are bigger, where they are kind of, you know, going over the material again, kind of highlighting what they, you know, what they might have not got to. So remember, across the nation, everybody takes the AP test at the same time. So Florida students that start in early August have a pretty big advantage over Connecticut students. Then you layer on top of that, some of our AP classes end in March, and students aren't taking the test till May. Our students do very well on the AP, but I think that we do leave, you know, some points on the table by not giving them the full advantage. So this kind of gets them, you know, up to speed, kind of reviews materials that they might have had in September. There is materials that they don't get to, so they don't get to all the curriculum because of that time frame, because they're taking the test in potentially early May, you know, and we still have a month and a half left of school. So that allows them to, you know, kind of increase their access to the materials, review it. And again, as I said last meeting, you know, student getting a 4 instead of a 3 might be the difference of 3 credits, you know, on their transcript. So that's a $3,000 benefit. So for a $15,000 spend or a $30,000 spend, there's pretty good return on the investment for families in Madison.
Right, so that money goes to the teachers who
Teachers,
take extra time.
yeah, right. So thank you. Yeah, so it goes pretty far. It's, you know, it's
Oh.
$44 an hour rate. They get some preparation time because they have to prepare for that. But then the time that they're in front of students. So it goes
Just
pretty
like
far.
an extra, it's like it's on a weekend or it's on a day. or-
Yes, so they try and schedule when students would be available, could be, you know, nights, weekends, as Diane shared, our students are so busy, especially you start getting to, you know, March, April timeframe, you know, juniors, seniors, they're very busy, so it is hard to fit that in, but they're finding, you know, some success in that, so I think that, and I agree, I see that last year was I think we could spend the whole amount or more than 15,000, but we haven't yet. And so I think the high school and myself are comfortable if we're not able to expand the money this year, that we continue to push. And we think that it will expand in students' minds and teachers' minds, and we'll offer more. And, you know, we'll see where this.
How do they sign up? Like, how do you sign up? Like, if-
Teachers, well, the teachers contact the students directly. So it might be an email that they email the teacher back that they're planning on attending. You know, and so they're signing up directly with the teacher.
It's really dependent on, the number of students that sign up to take the specific AP courses.
Right.
And not every student that takes the AP course is going to sit for the AP exam. And it also is very dependent upon the teacher's availability as well. I know that they were offering some classes after school, some were on the weekends. And sometimes they offered both, and we could see how many students were able to make it to which session,
And in terms of band uniforms, I would strongly advocate we treat our band students the same way we treat all of our athletes. I think that to ask them to fundraise or to ask them to wait longer than a normal cycle, I think is difficult. And then I just did some quick math. I thought this was fun for me. I don't know. When you think about the band uniform, so if they have 6 events, from very hot to very cold, but and also, they do have parades, they do have, playoff games as well. They're getting, say 8 uses a year on the low end. But a home basketball uniform gets 10 uses. Their replacement cycle is 4 to 5 years. This replacement cycle is 10 years. So this might be worn by 10 students for a total of 80, or more times. And so I do think it actually gets more use. I didn't think of that before, but I just
Well, but I
thought of
think
that
the
now.
wear and tear is different. I mean, they're marching in them, they're not sliding into home base, they're not getting tackled in them, they're not getting.
In the rain, in the rain.
They are spilling hot chocolate on them.
They're carrying heavy instruments,
Yeah.
they're sweating in
Yeah.
the. They get-
Sliding in
I'm
the
not saying
mud,
they don't get more.
sliding in the mud.
I think you made a good point about the colors, and that would just be something to share with whoever's ordering them. Be sure you don't sign off on our gold or the paw print. And I think a lot of times with costumes, because I had a lot of dancers, that's what the last thing they do is put on the applique or the screen print or something like that. So they probably could get started on the costumes.
I think they're
sooner
gonna
than
do
do that. Yeah, but even that's like the last step.
Yeah, and I would say that we're not gonna put any order in until we know it's as I shared, it's 90 to 180 days. So probably on 180 days, everything seems to be on that long cycle of any order. So we don't anticipate that our students would even have them for this fall.
Or
Probably have for the spring. If they're doing it great, that would be when we roll it.
I will also add, and then I want to open it up if anyone else has any other discussion points that they want to bring up. I was on the CAVE board chairs meeting just yesterday. And it appears that someone informed us that according to the CAPS superintendents, Connecticut Association of Public School Superintendents, the average increase in budget this year is 4.98%, almost 5%. And I'm hearing from Craig, if you want to let me know what he told me today.
Yeah, and I think in our area and certainly our comparable DERGs A and B, it's higher than that. I'm hearing 8s, 9s, some pretty high numbers I had not seen before. I heard an 18 at the board, Danbury, so there's some high numbers out there. I think insurance is a big one, again, compliment to Stacy, Heather, personnel committee, and all the work we've done on our contracts with insurance, our employees. So I think that's a huge one, although that's a big number that we have in insurance, it could be double that, people are seeing that. Also not leaving ourselves with a huge clip for the ESSER funds, I think is a big piece, they're seeing districts with high budgets also laying off a large number of employees, so we're not either of those positions, so we appreciate that.
We're like, we try harder.
I just have two comments.
Go ahead, Christine.
Thank you. One, I fully support the band uniforms. I love that Craig did the math, and I fully am in support of new uniforms. And two, I'm in full support of the AP funding. I did reach out to 2 other districts that I know people that are on boards, and they don't fund for AP, extra help. And I think it just speaks volumes that Madison is funding a program, and we may not have spent it all, but we will at some point, to help our kids and to increase their knowledge and to help them in colleges and get that 4 or their 5 so that we can just, rankings and etc.
Thank you. And was there a second thing you wanted to?
No, that's it.
Informs
Thank-
it, oh, that was two, sorry.
That was 2.
I only counted it as 1.5 for some reason.
It's okay.
All right, any other discussion points? Anybody want to add anything? Anyone else? All right, I will entertain any motions if anyone is interested.
I actually have a question how to do this.
Sure.
So the motion on the floor is to approve the proposed budget. So then if I would like to make a motion to amend the proposed budget to reduce it by the AP 15,718. Is that how I would do it?
Yeah, you would do a motion to amend from the floor. It would require a second. If somebody seconded,
But
if
the-
somebody were to second it, then we would have discussion on the amendment and vote on the amendment.
But the motion on the floor is to approve the proposed budget.
You would, yeah,
So-
well, it's to approve the budget as proposed. So you would do an amendment, you would move an amendment to reduce that proposed budget. And we would vote on that amendment. If that amendment passes,
Then we would.
then we would vote on the reduced version as amended.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
Got a little crazy in my head. Okay, so then I would like to make a motion to amend the proposed 2024-2025 budget to reduce it by $15,718 so that the new budget amount would be, well, I don't have to say that. Wait on that. That is my term of motion. Thank you.
Oh, that's it. I'll second that. All right, we have a second. All right, so that is
No.
motion by Diane. Second by Galen. All right, so now I will open up discussion to the floor on Diane's motion to amend the proposed budget to reduce it by $15,718, which is the increased funding that's proposed for the AP test preparation program.
It still keeps in the 15,000 that we budgeted last year. for
Correct.
it, And that we have to spend this spring. So it's not reducing what we have, it's just that it wasn't all spent before. And I
It's basically flat funding the
Yes.
program.
to
through
keep
the
it
next
what
year.
it was and not increase it. And I just would like to make a point about the AP is that, one of the reasons this is so important for Madison is because we're one of the few schools that has a trimester system. Where we have AP classes where you could possibly be taking them first and second trimester and have an entire trimester. Where you don't even touch the subject, but be expected to sit for the May AP exam, and that's why it's important to have it, but I don't think it's important to overfund it just yet. And I think when you look at other schools, they're on a semester system and they get to study the topic through the whole time, and so they stay current on it, and it might be. They might do review in class, it's not separately budgeted for, I'm pretty sure that's what Guilford does. And so that's why it's more important for us to have the AP help because of the trimester system, that's unique to us.
Any other commentary on that motion? What else?
If there's no discussion, could we have a roll call vote?
By law, you have to now by hybrid meeting.
Yes.
rules.
I thought so. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. If one member calls for a roll call vote, then we call each member's name and they vote A, nay, or abstention. We take that down for the record. What's that? Yeah, well, I mean,
I mean, you
in
have to start.
effect, we announced who voted A, nay, and abstention in our minutes anyway. So it's not necessary, but a member called for it and I am inclined to go ahead and do it that way. So any last discussion on this? Seeing none, I'll start at this end of the table and then go around the table and then go to the folks on Zoom. Stephen, how do you vote?
Yeah,
And just to make sure everyone's clear, this is on the motion to amend to reduce it by $15,718. The proposed budget. Okay, I'm sorry, Stephen?
yeah.
Yay. Yeah, let's go with Galen. Yay. Seth, I'll vote yay.
Okay.
Emily, I'm sorry, what was that?
Yes.
Yay. Thank you.
Yay.
Kathy,
Yay.
Diane, yay, not surprisingly.
Yeah.
Maureen, yay.
Okay.
And then Mary Ann,
Nay.
nay, okay. And Christine,
No.
nay, okay. The ayes have it, so it is 7-2 in favor of the amendment to reduce the budget by $15,718. Which represents the additional funding for the AP test preparation line. So that, by my calculation, would change the standing motion to approve the 24-25 proposed budget as amended in the amount of $63,885,156, which is approximately a 3.4% increase in spending.
3.41.
3.41, thank you.
Johnny on the spot over there.
Are you gonna do it? Somebody would be helpful there. Okay, so now, unless there's another motion on the floor that comes up, the original motion, the standing motion is amended to approve the proposed 24-25 budget, to approve the 24-25 budget in the amount of $63,885,156, and a approximate 3.41% increase in spending. And unless there's any further discussion, hearing none. I'm sorry.
I just, I say, thank you, Stacy, thank you, Dr. Cook, it's a great budget. Thank you.
Agreed. Thank you, Paul. All right,
Can I say one thing?
yes.
That it's actually a very lean budget and, finding anything that's reasonable to cut was very difficult, so I thank the administration for their hard work. We tried.
Everyone says their hands.
And I thought it was a good question by Christine about how much was actually contractual obligation. And that was 2.68%, so that's like a vast majority of it, so I mean, if you're talking you said 3.41 increase, minus the 2.68, that's hardly.
And the health insurance increase, 8.44%.
So I think that it's reasonable and we tried hard. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. I'm gonna call the question. Remember, this motion was moved by Emily, seconded by Galen. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Any
Did
abstentions?
you get that?
Yes, I got one opposed. Mary Ann, I didn't see your vote, I'm sorry.
Opposed.
I'm sorry, is that for, against, or abstain?
Against.
Against, okay,
But this isn't for the budget though, right?
yes. The vote is 7-4-2 against.
For the budget itself, the whole budget.
For the whole Board of Ed budget that we're proposing next to the Board of Selectmen. And then further consideration onto the Board of Finance. There will be a presentation February 14th, I believe. Yeah,
Yes.
on this to the Board of Selectmen. All right. Thank you all. So next action item is a motion to approve the addition of paper towels at Daniel Hand High School for the remainder of the 2023-2024 school year. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Emily, do I have a second?
Second.
By Diane?
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on whether or not to fund paper towels at Daniel Hand High School for the remainder of this school year?
So I think it's not really a matter of funding or not. The funding was never removed. The addition or subtraction of paper towels was never voted on by the board. The funding was never removed by a vote by the board. It was a decision of facilities committee level. And so it was also a decision at the facility committee level to reinstate the paper towels at hand. So it's really sort of, in my feeling, an inappropriate vote at the board level, because we don't discuss whether or not we want to have single ply or double ply toilet paper at this level either. That's not what boards do.
Yeah, to that, I would agree wholeheartedly that this gets down in the weeds where we don't want to be as a board of 9 in terms of micromanaging. This normally occurs at the subcommittee level, and in this case at facilities. And it's usually just an oversight. Things get reported to us at the committee level. The committee just kind of oversees them and makes sure everything's copacetic, and this would not be something that normally gets voted on. The reason why this is on the agenda for a vote tonight is because some of the board members pointed out, and we did some research and were able to confirm that somehow this got on to the general board agenda for a vote previously. It had to do with the funding, but not a budget line, but not, micromanaging whether we, use 2-ply or
Yeah.
1-ply paper.
It was an inappropriate vote at that time.
It was probably,
And it was mine, and I just didn't realize it until later that
there
it
was
was
no.
an
vote for the
impromptu
board.
thing because we were discussing it, and
Yes.
so. Then I made a motion, but I shouldn't have, and so that was my fault, and here we are.
Yeah, so to accord equal process to it now, I think it's important. As some board members have brought up, to also have a vote on it now. It's not something we would normally vote on. And it's something we've discussed ad nauseum. So I mean, other than if anybody, feels the need to make a statement or render any comment now, we could, go ahead and vote on it, but again, I'm open to any comments. Mary Ann, I see your hand.
I still have a comment because it's still $7,000. And we're worried about, AP classes and band uniforms. But maybe we should worry about where we're spending paper money. That's all. That's all I have to say about that.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Christine, did you have your hand up? No? Okay, anyone else? All right, I'll call the question. There's a motion to approve the addition of paper towels at Daniel Hand High School for the remainder of the 2023-2024 school year. I believe it was estimated to be about $7,000. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Nay.
Okay, it's 7-2. Thank you. Sorry, just recording. Okay,
I don't want anyone to think that that's an additional 7,000, that's just what's in the budget under supplies.
It's
under-
$7,000.
correct.
If I could speak to that though, last year, Bill proposed and we did increase custodial supplies. If he had. He would have had to increase it by 15,000 more if he had kept paper towels. Because the cost of everything went up, the cost of, we talked about it quite a bit of everything that he does, so that there wasn't 7,000. I just didn't want to think that there was 15,000 or 7,000 sitting there in the custodial supply line that wasn't used. It was used last year on the increase of cost.
Right, but it's like you have the line of supplies and it includes everything that he uses. It's not like we talk about, well, how much toilet paper, how much hand sanitizer, how much floor cleaner do you have? It's supplies, and then it's utilized for whatever he needs to utilize it for at his discretion, because that's what he does.
I didn't think Dr. Cook is saying is he came up with a budget and didn't include that, so that's why it's being added. So did something have to get cut to add this back in?
No, it was added back onto the budget after the, administration made its recommended budget, that $15,000 was added back on, so it was not like something was reduced from that.
Yeah, and I agree with what Seth said, this should have been at the facility level committee, and their vote was to put it back in, correct? Correct. Right, so for that reason, I would support it.
Okay, so we already voted on that. That was just a little leftover discussion. Next action item is a motion, and this gets into the policy committee stuff. Action item 12, motion to waive the second reading and rescind the following policies: 5100.5 student fundraising activities, 5120.1 student insurance coverage, 5120.2 reports of accidents, 5150 employment, 5160 gifts to employees. I need a motion.
So moved.
Emily, seconded by Diane. I sense a theme here. Any discussion?
I actually have a question on
Yes,
the,
Christie.
the gifts to the employees. I know that Diane had mentioned it was going from the 5 series to the 4,000 series. And so what does that mean, I guess, number one? And number two, I did read the policy, and who is going to implement that policy as far as just kind of overseeing?
So
what we're-
Shipman and Goodwin did recommend just rescinding it, but at the policy committee meeting, we talked about it, and there was some interest in keeping a policy because they didn't want excessive gifts to look like they were influencing teachers or anything. But the main point behind the rescission of this is because it's in the 5,000 series, which is actually the students. And so if we were going to have a policy that limits gifts to employees, it should really be under the personnel 4,000 series. So we are going to look at it there and see if we want to have a policy. It's still under discussion at the policy committee level. There was just some interest in possibly keeping it and moving it. And so the actual details of the policy have not yet been worked out.
Part of the discussion was, I think the policy committee recognized that it might be a more proper place to control the conduct of employees with regard to gift receiving, rather than put the onus on students for gift giving.
So should we amend the motion and take that off and revisit it when the 4,000 is clearer?
No, because I think the goal was to remove it as is, because in either case, the facilities committee agreed we didn't want it in that.
Policy.
I'm sorry, the policy, yeah. Facilities committee was overstepping its bounds. The policy committee felt like they didn't want to keep it there. They wanted to listen to that advice from Shipman and Goodwin, but then had a separate thought that we should revisit it as a policy committee later to determine if it, made sense to have a policy, but as applied to employees rather than students. Is that right, Lydia?
That is correct.
But isn't the verbiage changing on that particular policy?
So it would be a whole new policy instead of like a revision of this policy. It would be a whole new policy in the 4,000 series if the policy committee decided that we want to keep some sort of rule or policy regarding the employees receiving gifts. One of the things that we discussed was that we don't want to discourage showing appreciation to teachers and personnel, but it was also discussed that we didn't want, outrageous gifts, to be given. And that you can't really control, what students give or do, but you can control what an employee would accept. So it would be a completely separate policy. So there would be no reason that we could not rescind the policy in the 5,000 series, but we will revisit it to see if we want one in the 4,000 series.
Okay.
Did that, I don't know if that helped.
No, yeah, it helps. Thank you.
Marion, is your hand up or are you just?
Oh, no, sorry.
False alarm. Okay, so unless there's any other further discussion on this, I would like to call a question. All right, seeing no further discussion, all in favor of the motion to waive the second reading and rescind the following policies: 5100.5 student fundraising activities, 5120.1 student insurance coverage, 5120.2 reports of accidents, 5150 employment, and 5160 gifts to employees. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries 9-0. Thank you. Action item 13. Motion to rescind the following policies: 9540.11 news media service at meetings, 9900 school board legislative program, 9910 state legislative program, 5120.9.4 bicycle and rollerblade use, 5120.4.2.3 substance abuse counseling. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Diane, do I have a second? Seconded by Kathy, thank you. All right, any discussion? Discussion? No, call the question. All in favor, aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. You guys have it, 9-0, thank you. On to action item 14. Motion to approve the following policies: 9510, time, place, and notice of meetings, 5090.8.1, search and seizure, 5090.3.1, student dress, 5144.4, physical activity, undirected play, and student discipline.
So moved.
Moved by Diane. I have a second from Galen. All right, any discussion on those?
I just have a comment.
Yeah, go ahead, Diane.
So I want to thank Zoe for all of her hard work on policy and the policy committee. And in case anyone's interested, we rescinded 43 policies in 2023, and we revised 39 policies for a total of 82 policies.
Wow, that's-
Thank you, Zoe.
Nice job.
Thank you, Susan. And thank you, Diane. That's a lot of work. And this
And a lot of
continues our process. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was talking to Diane.
Oh, this continues our process of modernizing our policies. And we've been working very closely with our Shipman and Goodwin, our legal counsel, to update, modernize, and make more relevant our policies. Now, we had a lot of policies that, you know, kind of repeated what the law already is by statute, and we were able to get rid of a lot of those and really make our policy manual easier to read, lighter, more current, and more sensible. So thank you to the policy committee and so for all of that. Okay, any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries 9-0. Thank you. Action item 15. Motion to accept a donation from the Jeffrey PTO to Jeffrey Elementary School in the amount of $2,500 for field trips.
So moved.
So moved by Kathy, thank
Second.
you. Seconded by Diane. That's a wonderful donation. Thank you. Any discussion?
Thank you to Jeffrey PTO.
Further discussion? All in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries 9-0. Thank you. Action item 16, a motion to accept a donation from Steady Photography to Jeffrey Elementary School in the amount of $1,610.53 for student photos. We have a motion.
So moved.
From Stephen. Any second?
Second.
Second from Diane. Any discussion? Again, Wonderful donation, thank you. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries 9-0. Action item 17. Motion to approve the minutes of the December 12th, 2023 Board of Education meeting. I have a motion.
So moved.
Emily, thank you. Any second?
Second.
Second by Diane, thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries 9-0. Thank you. Action item 18, a motion to approve the minutes of the January 16th, 2024 Board of Education Budget Workshop. We have a motion.
So moved.
Emily. Second, Steve. Thank you. I did raise a request to just change the wording a little bit at the top of the minutes. It just said that Mr. Klaskin did not lead the Pledge of Allegiance. And I prefer that to be, it was only because of inclement weather. That meeting was largely by Zoom and almost everybody was outside of this room, so there was no flag. So I just want the record to reflect that due to inclement weather, Mr. Klaskin dispensed with the recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance. I already said that as a note, so I don't want anybody to throw rotten eggs at me because I'm anti-American. With that I raised that as an amendment. Does anyone second that amendment? That's not good. Galen, thank you. All in favor of the minutes for the January 16th, 24 Board of Ed Budget Workshop as amended, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Any abstentions? No abstention. So it's 8, 0, 1. And the abstention was Lewis. Thank you very much. Any recommendations for future agenda items? We're getting towards the end of the meeting, folks. This is exciting. Future agenda items.
With a change in the dates before.
Yes, dates of importance. Can you please-
February 27th, the policy committee meeting was moved to 30.
The facilities committee is wrong too. Most of those are wrong. Half those
Oh.
ones changed today, so
Oh,
just
okay.
disregard that shit.
All right.
Okay.
Check your digital calendar.
Fix for the next meeting packet.
It's
Anything else? Okay, I need a motion to adjourn.
so moved.
Again. Can we get a second?
Second.
Thank you. To adjourn at 9:13.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those nay. Any abstentions? All right, congratulations. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.